Briefly explaining the build. I can't really. Yo, what are these boots? Live, double res, movement speeds. Yo, that's some GG League start item. What the fuck? Okay, that is crazy. Question though is, do we skip the league mechanic or not? Because you know what I don't understand? Why is there no leave button? Like, oh, I collected enough, I want to leave now. Okay, deaths. 0 times died. Hardcore solo Siphon, viable build. Easy. Eh? What is a Beyond monster doing down here? Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. New day, new build, new me, right? This time around, since G2G was releasing the Transfigure gem a bit delayed, and it was Friday, it was league start, it was about 1 hour before the league went live, I decided to start with the Archignite Elementalist mana stacking version. But there was like one thing, like literally like an hour before the league started, or at least, I don't know when they released it, but that's when I saw it, the Transfigure Gems version 5 means like even more Transfigure Gem. And there was one that catched my eye where I literally said like, bro, I would like to league start that, right? And this is this one over here, the Power Siphon of the Archmage. So, mana stacking Power Siphon. What this does is, it got like some power charge crit multi removed from a gem, but it deals added lightning damage equal to 20% of your maximum mana. So, stacking mana, stacking damage, right? I love my mana builds, so here it is. But, spoiler alert, Power Siphon is dead. Okay, this is something I had to figure out myself. The reason, like, the thing is, okay, if I, for example, let me quickly, I don't know if I can unspec that, Chainbreaker, so I actually have mana. Okay, there we go. For example, Kinetic Blast. I shoot, and there is the projectiles going out, right? This was the same with the Power Siphon until they completely changed it, and I thought it's not a big of a deal, but it is a massive deal. What it does now, Power Siphon is basically seeking out other enemies. It does not fire projectiles. That means if I equip here my Power Siphon, and then I shoot, you see, there is no projectiles whatsoever. So, this now works as a kind of a mini, mini Val Power Siphon. Means that usually Power Siphon was like same projectiles as here, but if you press the Val Power Siphon, it was seeking out all the other enemies and has like a big radius explosion with like a bazillion projectiles. Was really cool. The new Power Siphon works pretty much the same. And while I was leveling, so I leveled this character up yesterday, was like a 14-hour stream or something. So let's go somewhere, doesn't really matter where, just to showcase how it looks like. Every additional projectile added to this build or to the skill adds one more enemy that it seeks out. It is a screen-wide thing, so if I stand here, I'm holding my mouse on the left side, I just click Power Siphon, and you see that the projectiles are flying backwards. So it depends when monsters enter my screen and I press my power siphon, it will automatically, wherever it is, shoot at the enemy. Which sounds pretty good in theory, because it's like a super quality of life. Because I just have to walk around and just have my mouse on the left side here, and I don't even care where the monsters are coming from. It just shoots directly here, the skeleton. I'm not even watching. I'm running, like, I'm turning my back to them. So it's like a mini power siphon, ball power siphon, right? So at leveling, that felt pretty amazing, not gonna lie. Like, this, like, super lazy, just walking around and have your mouse in front and just, like, press your power siphon and just kill the entire screen was kind of amazing. But there is one big downside, and that is bossing. Remember that the usual power siphon thingy would have been power siphon, barrage setup, and then, like, a mark, like sniper's mark, and returning projectiles and all that kind of things. And yes, returning projectiles, this is, by the way, a tool link right now. For example, returning projectiles does work. So as soon as I go to a monster or something, and the projectiles are returning, which is good. So now you're telling us that power siphon feels amazing. So where's the downside? And the downside is single target, because even if I have 10 additional projectiles on the on my power siphon, it will not shoot 10 projectiles. If there is only one single target, I'm shooting one single projectile, and this with a lot lower attack speed and stuff than something like power siphon. If you just compare, like, how fast I'm casting this and how slow I'm basically casting the power siphon. So all this, like, sniper's mark, a bazillion projectiles, like shotgunning the boss and stuff like that, is not there anymore. So I can see, so that's why I decided, okay, you know what, I'm gonna play a 4-link KB link and a 6-link power siphon for single target still. So because I knew, okay, with the mana stacking, for example, right, I have like a shit ton of damage added to my power siphon. As you see, it's like 6,500 flat lightning damage added here without even using the mana storm yet. But this is like, I'm not like wanna go into detail. Like, I can tell a little bit about the build, how it works, but the more important thing is this should have become a power siphon of the Archmage mana stacking wonder. And I just realized while playing this one yesterday, it is absolutely weird to play power siphon like that. If the mob count is low, it's super fine. You know, we can run a blood aqueducts, for example, so I can show you that. It says that the character is like very early in the beginning. But if you would run like super juiced maps where there's like a lot of monsters, and I'm talking about thousands of monsters per map, and you're only hitting like maybe 10 each time you press your power siphon, it wouldn't feel that great. Comparison to the kinetic blast, where it's like, yo, I have like my arrow going through. There's like, as soon as it lands on a monster, it explodes. It returns, it explodes again, you know? So like hyper clearing KB is insane while power siphon falls off. So the plan was power siphon of the Archmage mana staking wonder, and it ended up being a 6-link kinetic blast, because the 4-link kinetic blast felt better at damaging bosses as my 6-link pure damage power siphon. And my kinetic blast setup was basically kinetic blast, returning proc, GMP, and mana leech. There was no damage supports whatsoever, and it kind of felt like having more damage as the power siphon, just the way the new power siphon works. So let's go over. I'm actually just doing this now. I just don't have the proper links for that. I would say we do, let me quickly get away all these links here and just try to make like a 4-link or something. So I want to have mana leech in there, so that's a no-brainer. Then probably GMP and, well, GMP, you wouldn't run GMP because it's a dead link for single target, right? So let's add the increased critical damage and ally damage, so I think that one should be fine. Mana leech and so on, that doesn't really matter. So this is basically was my 4-link KB setup that I was running in my helm, right? So now I'm playing this entire thing here with our siphon, so you see how it looks like. And you see in Blood Aqueducts already that the amount of arrows without like pierce or whatever, and without chain fork, is like a bit questionable. So the speed, the walking speed, that's something that is built in, right? But it kind of feels weird, I'm not gonna lie. And for single target, it was even worse because you're only shooting one projectile. So why am I doing this Blood Aqueducts run then? because I want to show you guys how the same run looks like with Kinetic Blast on a Full Link without damage setup. So you see the comparison and why I think this, yeah, Power Siphon is kind of that thingy. And that's why I also want to move on to the next build already, because I have like an idea on how I maybe would approach this build in a different way, maybe even with Ignite. So we're going to take the high damage of the Power Siphon of the Archmage and scale like Ignites with it. But honestly, as the plan was different from the start until where we are now. And that's why I rather move on to the next build, because there is still like 100 builds that I would like to play. So I would just say like the Power Siphon idea was good. The execution was okay. And the end result was kind of like super bad. So now we do the same run, just all we do is we get KB in here instead of Power Siphon. I'm not gonna use in GMP here, which would enhance the clearing like a ton more, but on the other hand, GMP would also be used for KB in terms of single targets because of the additional explosion, right? So, but this is kind of completely useless. But you're gonna see that the clearing is just gonna be a lot smoother with the KB, because it has like so much more, what do you say, explosions and chaining and returning. Wait, I'm not playing returning projectiles here. Oh, returning proc, which is then still gonna be useless on the Power Siphon. But the core idea is still the same. KB just on a 4-link felt a lot better than on a 6-link Power Siphon, and that's why I say like screw this. I'm moving on to the next because it just didn't turn out the way I wanted. And now I want to take the last like, I don't know, like 2-3 minutes just to give you guys an idea on how this build should have worked if you would continue it, basically, right? Because there is some neat freaking tech in there, and it might have been become like a pretty cool Ignite build, but as I said, that's maybe for later or something like that. Good. Waypoint over here. Back to Hideout. So what is this build? How does it work? And what is the odds and stuff like that? Basically, it's a combination of adding flat lightning damage. This is granted by, for example, as I said, the Power Siphon with the Archmage gem, which means the more mana I have, maximum mana, the more added lightning damage I have. On top of that, we can use Mind of the Council. Mind of the Council is a helm that I've used on my Burning Arrow Ignite like a couple weeks ago, which is basically giving you attack skills have added lightning damage equal to 6% of your mana. Means the more mana you have, the more damage you have. So the gem has added damage, the helmet has added damage. Now we're talking about the Mana Storm build. So the Mana Storm build is a very, very cheap, unique item that says when you cast a spell, sacrifice all mana to gain added maximum lightning damage. Let me quickly remove my Chainbreaker over here with the shield charge, so I'm actually like restoring mana. So as soon as I cast a spell, in that case, it would be either like Berserk, it could be Sigil of Power, or Blood Rage, and I use Blood Rage for the most part. Let's see, my damage here is like 20k, right? So I'm using now my Blood Rage, and now it's like on 50k. What happened is the Mana Storm like soaked up my entire mana pool, and therefore getting 25% of the sacrificed mana, which would be around like, I don't know, 1,500 flat lightning damage, whatever. So this is like the third option that gives us extra damage. And since it is an on-hit build, we can use all the cool like wand nodes with the increase and reduction to spell damage, also applies to attack damage. We can use additional projectiles. We can use the lightning mastery for getting increase and reductions to maximum mana, also applies to shock effects. Since we're stacking mana, we also gain like very, very high shocks, consistent 50% shocks all the way. Then power charge stacking, crit multi, like the classic on-hit build. On top of that, since I say like, yo, since I'm sacrificing all my mana, either with the Arcane Cloak soaking up a bunch, and then basically Blood Rage, every time I use Blood Rage, my mana pool is empty. That's why I'm running a heavy leech setup. So we're having here the Clever Chief with the attack damage leech as life and mana with the mastery of instant leech. And on the bottom side, I have an additional mana leech node with a mastery of 100% increased total recovery from second per life leech. That means, yes, we're soaking up my the entire mana pool like all the time, but as soon as I hit an enemy with like KB and it just explodes and stuff, I'm almost instantly full mana again, so I can use my Blood Rage again, empty my mana bar, and just leech it back up basically almost instant. So you want to use like a spell every 4 sec or every 3 to 4 seconds to maintain the Mana Storm buff. And this is kind of a bit awkward in single target situations because you need a lot of leech or high hitting abilities, so you're leeching enough to maintain the mana leech. In AoE, it's like absolutely no problem. It's like 3 monsters, boom, instantly mana pool full. In single target, it's a bit rougher, so you need more sources of leech to get yourself like the mana back up, so you can maintain casting the Mana Storm and the Arcane Cloak every 2 or 3 seconds to like have all the like added flat damage. But since we're using leech, there is something we can do with mana regen, and that is the good old Chainbreaker Keystone that I'm using here. And this is something a bit of a forgotten thing, because they at some point changed the fact. So basically what Chainbreaker does, it comes from the Lethal Pride with the Akoya. What it does is your mana regen does not regen mana anymore, but therefore it regens rage for every 25 mana regen. The downside, your skill costs 3 rage. So, with that, like, insane mana pool that you're about to get once you have, like, really good gear, this is still, like, leveling gear, you know, some, life, mana, res, like, some crash early, like, Act 5, rare items and stuff like that. So the mana pool should get up to, like, 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10,000. And if you, and the percentage mana regen is always based on your mana pool, right? That means that the more mana regen I have, the more rage I can sustain, and this is like a pretty nice thing. So as you see, I'm just pressing now Berserk, and we can see how the uptime is having like 4,500 mana with a couple sources of mana regen. Because like, yeah, there's not a lot of items that I'm currently having that do have mana regen. I think I only have 1 ring that has like really good mana regen. But as you see, the rage uptime, the Berserk uptime is really, really good. And since this is an on-hit build, it has a lot of damage, a lot of like tankiness in that case, because Mind Over Matter, we're running triple leech, we're running life, energy shield, and mana leech. We're having Berserk damage reduction. We have, like, as I said, Mind Over Matter plus the Mind of the Council giving an extra 30% lightning damage is taken before mana before life. But it also says that you have 20% chance to be shocked, and I countered that basically with a power charge mastery that says cannot be shocked while maximum power charges. With Power Siphon, you're always kind of guaranteed, even in single target, to be at maximum power charges. This is just a step before I would have planned to get ailment immunity. So what is the downside here? If since we have a lot of mana regen, we have a really good Berserk uptime, the skill costs 3 rage. This is a base modifier and gets amplified by the amount of links that you're using. I know this sounds stupid, but this is just the way it works. That means on a 4 link over here with KB, if I mouse over it, it says it has cost 40 mana and 7 rage. Why is that? If it says 3 rage, because all of these gems here, the support gems, have a cost and reservation multiplier. And it specifically says cost multiplier and not mana cost multiplier. So this is a global modifier. So on a 4 link, it costs you like 7 rage. You know, I put in GMP and all of a sudden it's 11 rage. You know, mana leech support doesn't have a multiplier. But here we're basically having a 6 link having now 11 rage cost. So every time I'm using an attack, I'm spending rage. And this is like fine as long as I have like so much mana regen that I over sustain my rage while I'm like having 11 rage costs by per second. But the problem is, once Berserk is active, the longer Berserk runs, the faster it drains me out. And if I then help with like 11 rage per cast, and once I'm like fully up with like frenzy charges and Berserk up, I have like pretty high attack speed, and every single attack is like 11 rage gone, 11 rage gone. So I'm scuffing my Berserk uptime. I think this might not be an issue anymore once I reach higher levels of mana. As I said, at the moment we're sitting on like 4.6k. I could see this build being at like 7, 8, 9,000 mana. That means I have like twice or 3 times more mana regen if I add more mana regen to the gear, since we are leeching back the mana. So I think that wouldn't be an issue. And I think the build would do pretty fine. But the main problem I still have is the Power Siphon. The way it works now is kind of like trash, and this build was meant to be a power Siphon of the Archmage build, and it ended up being a classic Kinetic Blast build because it just feels a lot better than power Siphon at all, you know. So, and that's why I kind of like want to like scuff this, but I still want to make a video because I think the way this character is built up is like pretty neat, and the stuff that you can do, especially now with the Primalist Ascendancy, I think I feel like Overkill, Onslaught, just like some self-hunt things. I saw there's like a bunch of other things where you could basically get like more damage and power charge modifiers and so on and so forth. Ascendancy wise, this is like important. I choose to be Trickster here because of 2% of damage leeches energy shield. It's very hard to get energy leech shield for attacks. Basically, you could do like on hit, but therefore I'm not hitting fast enough. But the most things are like spells. If I would go for like Ghost Reaver, I would leech energy shield but not life anymore. And the goal here is to have like this triple leech with instant, and there is even a charm that gives you even more instant leech since they are stacking, right? But I have like life leech because of like Clever Chief, maybe like Blood Rage and stuff like that, because it's from attack physical damage. No wait, Blood Rage doesn't do anything because I don't really have any physical, or a little bit of physical damage. But you still have like all the other leech nodes, and then you have like the mana leech from the mana sources, and then you have the Trickster leech. So we are having the mana leech, the energy leech, and the life leech, just with instant sources, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, this is like the sad story of a very interesting idea, but you know, the bossing on this character, where Power Siphon is known to be really strong, especially with Power Siphon, is just not really there. Another thing that you could have done, this is like a little of a... Okay, let me quickly pull up what we came up with yesterday. I think it was somewhere here, current build. So these could have become, you know, a primal mana crit power charge ascendancy charm stacking Val Power Siphon of the Archmage, perfect agony crit ignite proliferation chainbreaker berserk elemental equilibrium Scion with spell suppression mind over matter and stun and element immunity. That is what we came up yesterday when we find out while leveling that Power Siphon kind of sucks. We said like, yo, what if we snapshot, you know, with like Mana Storm and Arcane Cloak, a very high on-hitting Power Siphon, and then start igniting with it? Since this is possible, there is a charm that says all damage can ignite. And since we're 100% crit chance, since we're power charge stacking, this would be a way to maybe go for perfect agony and stack dot multi, fire dot multi, and critical strike multiplier, because 50% of that value basically is basically for dot multis once you're skill perfect agony. And since we're having a lot of crit thanks to power charges and other want modifiers, I think that would have been a very interesting combination. But honestly, this would be something for maybe later. I still think that caster ignite builds are just a lot better than attack based ignite builds, because here I need to stack a lot of like modifiers to gain a lot of lightning damage. So here, for example, with KB is like 2700 to 2900, and spells do have a way easier time. You take like a spell, you know, like whatever it's gonna be, and you just pump up the shit with levels of gems, and the spells scale in crazy good with like levels of gems because of the modifiers, right? For example, if I add plus 10 levels to Arc, it does like a lot of more damage. If I add plus 10 levels of KB, you usually don't even do that, because attack skills are always based on your weapon and not on like what is the base damage of the skill, right? And that's why stacking levels on attack builds doesn't really make sense. And I think like I would still like, since I had this like melee Infernal Blow Ignite last season, where I said like, I don't see why would I ever play a melee ignite if I could play a caster ignite that is way easier to scale and more defensive, since you're a ranged caster instead of being in the face of the enemy. Obviously, Power Siphon wouldn't have that problem, but I still think that the problem is going to be down at the point that it just doesn't add too many projectiles. So we have like 7 projectiles, and think about you run like a 100% Deli, or even like a normal Deli Mirror or Legion or something, and every time you attack, you're attacking like 7 targets, you know? You need like a lot of attacks to inflict enough ignites to actually clear off a Legion, where I could just use something like Val Arc or KB that has like way better spread, way better clear coverage, and ignite with that one, right? But the goal was the power Siphon of the Archmage, and I see this as kind of a fail with a reworked Arc, and that's why I'm moving on to the next build. So day 4, it's another leveling stream, but hey, this is it. This is what you do when you're doing builds, and GG gives you like 1,000 tools to yeah, do stuff this league, and that's why we're just gonna move on and be like, yo, I want to try the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, until I find something where I say, yo, this might be build of the league material. But for so long, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.